This is ATL Day Ones, part of Locked On Sports Atlanta. And it starts now.
Welcome into ATL Day Ones with Jarvis and Tenitra. I want to welcome you into the show. And first of all, we just want to say thank you for making ATL Day Ones your first listen of the day. We are free and available wherever you download your podcast. And wherever you download your podcast, make sure you leave us a 5-star review. It's a $2 Tuesday, so we're not giving out $2 if you give us a 5-star review, but go ahead and do that because someone may thank you because, we're doing really, really great things over here. But T, let me tell you, Deion Jones may return, but will he be willing to play ball, though? We'll talk about that. And also, Anthopoulos looking like he's going to dance with the team that brought him. We'll talk about that as well. And last but not least, and for the culture, Tiger Woods turned down how much? That's all coming up. But first, we got to talk about Deion Jones. We got a report yesterday from Jeff Schultz of the Athletic, friend of the program, about Deion Jones. The team tried to trade Deion Jones. Terry Fontenot, I'm sure they've been working the phones, trying to figure out what's a good value, and they haven't been able to find a trade partner. Got to have two people to dance, right? The tango, right? Yeah. But I think one of the things that I find very interesting is that from what the report made it seem that they might figure out a way to keep him as long as his attitude is right and he's working hard. Like, what are we talking about here? Are we in high school, T? Like, what's going on right now?
Right. Yeah. And that's an interesting comment because let's face it, there's never been any report out of Flowery Branch or any reports from anywhere that says Debo is anything but a stand-up guy, right?
Right.
He's been one of the leaders of the team and was part of the team, when they went on that Super Bowl run and has been one of their stalwarts. Yes, he is kind of on the downside. His body just was not right last year. We saw flashes of Debo, but we didn't see the real Deion Jones. So that was an interesting comment to me. I get what Jeff is saying. Obviously, if you're malcontent based on your situation, knowing that you got to stay in a place where somebody wants you to go and leave, yeah, you could definitely have a little bit of a different attitude than normal. But I expect Deion Jones to be the same stand-up guy he's always been. And I also expect Dean Pease, with his creativity, to find a space and a place somehow for him to still contribute.
No doubt about it. And, to be honest with you, you talk about the play not being where it needs to be, and one thing that I've always kind of pointed out with Deion is that he came in a certain way, looking a certain way, playing a certain way. And the only thing that really changed is that his level of play has declined. You never really saw the changing of the body. And I always talk about that. Like, that's one thing you have to pay attention to when you're looking at NFL players and whether or not they're going to reach their potential. And Grady Jarvis is a prime example. It's right there. And you talk about how he came in. He was kind of, he wasn't that big up top. And, of course, he was stout down low. But that second year you came back, he was walking around the locker room like this, So for those who can't see, I got my chest all poked out. It's poking out a little bit more nowadays. I got my shots, I have to give a thing right. But I think those are some of the things that I've always noticed about Debo But, he was just so great when you're talking about speed from a speed standpoint. That was a great asset that he had as a player. And, he was a playmaker as well. So with the interceptions and, of course, always giving it to the New Orleans Saints, which a lot of people in this town loved him for. And we'll always love him for that. But I think those are some of the things that kind of come to fruition now that, Terry Fontenot and Arthur Smith trying to trade him. And they know that more than likely you're only going to save a couple dollars. $1 million ain't a couple dollars, but hey,
but
that's
the
you're
general
saving
of the salary cap. That is,
yeah. So I think that for those reasons, I believe they'll find a deal, but it might not necessarily be the one that they actually want. Speaking of a deal, T, before we talk about a player that looks like he might be done for the season, they might and Terry Fontenot might have to work those phones again. Tell them about the deal that the Dave app has for our special listeners.
Yes, and the Falcons may not at this point have a deal that they want to consummate for Deion Jones, although they've got Michael Walker in the wings, so there's that. But Dave has a deal that you can get going with him because if we keep it 100, everybody has been in a situation in their lives where they were tight on cash and needed somehow to strike a deal with somebody somewhere to help them out. And that is where Dave can help. So a friend of mine used to always say there's no stress like financial stress, and facts, no question about it. So
Big
Dave
time.
can help you to get out of that pinch if you're ever in it again. Now, hindsight is 2020. You can't really go back and change whatever got you in that situation, but what you can do is get a little help to bail you out for the future. So if you want to borrow or need to borrow a little cash, you can do that with Dave. It is actually a banking app, so you can do it right from your phone. You can get up to $500 instantly with extra cash. You can finally tackle the expenses that have been really stressing you out. No interest, no credit check needed, and millions of people have already downloaded the app and taken advantage of getting some financial relief. So, again, you download that Dave app from the App Store right now. That's DAVE. Sign up for an extra cash account and get up to $500 instantly. And again, for terms and conditions, go to dave.com/legal. Instant transfer fees apply. Banking provided by Evolve. They're a member of FDIC, and your future, you will thank you.
No doubt about it. The future you will always thank you for making good, sound financial decisions. Now, speaking of decisions, it has to be made. We talked about Vincent Taylor. We just found out that he tore his Achilles, ruptured
Yeah.
his Achilles. I'm sorry, and more than likely that means that your season is done.
Yeah.
And the thing about we talked about on this show, T, as far as the Terry Fontenot waiting around to kind of see who gets cut and all
Mhm.
that stuff, as far as from a defensive line standpoint, adding one
Mhm.
more veteran guy. It
Yeah.
looks like the sense of urgency is just turned up
Zapar.
just a little bit here, T.
Right. The sense of urgency has all of a sudden ratcheted up. And you think about it, and it's like, okay, you think you're all good to go because you got Eddie Goldman. And then he says,
Mhm.
no, thank you. I am done with this whole thing, period.
Yeah.
Goodbye. And then you think, okay, I've got Vincent Taylor. And you really kind of want that veteran. You want somebody behind Taquan Graham, if nothing else, to just kind of push him to be
Right.
great
Mhm.
and or to be solid in that position. Now you don't even have him as a backup. But Terry Fontenot said exactly what you just said. He said that in an interview yesterday with our guys Andy and Randy, and he talked about the fact that this is that time. Now that players are in pads, you're getting closer to joint practices and preseason. He can start to be on the hunt. And I'm sure he didn't think he was going to be on the hunt for a nose tackle this quickly yet again. But yeah, he knows the deal, and that's just what he's going to do.
No doubt about it. And we would definitely keep an eye and monitor whether or not they do bring someone in or they just want to ride this thing out, like I said, and wait around for, the wee hours of the season once it gets
Mhm.
rolling around and try to make an addition because more than likely it's going to be a guy that you know exactly what you're going to get from him. So I don't think that period of where you to see what the guy can bring to the table or what he has, I think that's going to be kind of eliminated when you're talking about bringing a veteran defensive lineman. And we know that pro scouting department is is Terry Fontenot's where his roots lie. So we definitely know that he's going to be on it and checking out once that move comes down the line. Speaking of coming down the line, the Braves, the
Yeah.
Phillies tonight at 7:20, they will
Mhm.
be taking on. I mean, Mr. Strider is going to be taking the mound.
Oh, yeah.
120 strikeouts right now, and we already know what goes down when the folk hero is on the mound. T. I think that this is something that I believe that the Braves have to get. I think they need to
Yeah.
go ahead and take both of these because the Phillies are
Agree.
kind of creeping up behind
Yeah.
them. I know they're chasing the Mets and kind of sticking around that 3-game range, but the Phillies
Right.
are here, and I don't think they're going anywhere anytime soon.
I would agree. I think it's one of those things where you absolutely have to understand the importance of where you're going. And so, I heard somebody say something interesting, and I thought, that's not a bad assessment, if you will, of why this game is so important. Now, the obvious for us is it's important because it's the Phillies. And like you said, you never want to get that complacent with a team that, yeah, right now is 10 games behind you. But just remember, at one time, you were 10 games behind the Mets and how you
Yep.
were able to creep up. So still, you
Hot
want to
month can really change that really quickly.
exactly it really can, or a hot month for the Phillies, or a cold spell from the Braves as they go into a wicked schedule on the road, starting with a 5-game stretch against the Mets just after the Phillies. So it's like you don't get a break there. So yeah, they have to take it seriously. But I love the fact that just a week ago, Spencer Strider got them their only win in that series that they lost up in Philly. And we're talking about him going 6 innings. We're talking about him getting 6 strikeouts and only walking a couple of batters. That's what you want. 3 hits and just 1 run. Yeah. If you can get that out of him, then I'm confident that you can, that'll set you up to win this series and most certainly set you up to get what you need when you go to Queens.
And one of the things that have always kind of been seemed like it's been a struggle with Spencer Strider lately is the run support. So yeah, gonna need those bats to get going tonight against the Philadelphia Phillies for sure. But speaking of bats and guys using it, like Austin Riley has been using this bat quite a bit lately. So probably going to be the National League Player of the Month. But Alex Anthopoulos said, hey, man, we're going to have to pass out this bag. We'll talk about that next. Right here on ATL Day Ones with Jarvis and T, part of Locked On Sports Atlanta. Don't go anywhere. You better not. I promise I'm going to do something to you. Oh, my bad.
Welcome back to ATL Day Ones. I'm Tenitra. That is Jarvis. And we appreciate you guys pulling up to the show each and every day. Appreciate you guys downloading this podcast wherever you get your podcast and continuing to give us 5-star reviews. You guys have been amazing with that. And still rocking with us on YouTube as well, getting this whole Locked On Sports Atlanta network almost to 3,000 subscribers. So keep it coming. Tell a friend. We appreciate you. And we will continue to bring you this great content just like the Braves are convinced and confident that Austin Riley will keep being great for them as well. So on Sunday, we saw Austin Riley, of course, Jarvis, make history with having 26 multi-hit games in the month of July, breaking Hank Aaron's record. And then we saw the Braves make history on Monday themselves with giving Riley a 10-year contract, $212 million, taking you through 2032 with an option for 2033.
Wow.
And just really, solidifying their guy with the largest contract in franchise history. And now I'm going to ask you this question. And I know it's going to sound like Captain Obvious, but I'm going to ask it anyway. And there's a reason that I'm going to ask it like this. But let me ask you, was it the right move at the right time?
You know what? I just find it interesting, right? Because you just coming off of a crazy month of July, right? Breaking a record that's been around since 1961. And it just so happened to be probably one of the greatest. Let me scratch that. The greatest baseball player of all time, and Hank Aaron. You break a franchise record with that, and you also break a record of a guy who, when he broke the record in Chipper Jones, he won a National League MVP trophy. So you kind of following like a really good path right there. And then as soon as that's over with, you're like, oh, hey, let me go give you this another record-breaking contract. And let's go ahead and put your name on that. And I think that the timing of it is very interesting, given that, you got, of course, Dansby Swanson waiting in the wings for his contract. And the last year of his deal, he's going to be a free agent after the season. Then, of course, Max Fried, who's a guy that's proved that he is absolutely hands down, no question, your ace of this staff, being eligible as well. So the Braves got a lot of money to put out, and right now they're currently like 7th or 8th, top 10 in Major League Baseball as far as from a salary standpoint.
Right.
And Lord knows we've talked about at great lengths about how the Braves are cheap. They don't want to spend no money, but it seems like those books are kind of looking really nice right now as far as what's going on at Truist Park and the Battery and all the amazing amount of money that they've been getting from how much they've been benefiting from that. So I think that when you think about it, initially it kind of is like, okay, all right, why are y'all doing this right now? But from a global standpoint, if you just look from a 30,000 foot view, it's kind of like, okay, this kind of makes sense because y'all have financially set probably for the next 10 years from a revenue standpoint, with the World Series and everything like that. Looking at it from that standpoint, it kind of makes sense.
Yeah, it does. And listen, that this move didn't start Sunday, right? That these negotiations have been in play. And hey, that's one less player that could potentially go to arbitration, because that's probably what you're going to deal with Dansby Swanson, potentially with Max Reed. You hope not, but you never know. So that's one less player to go to arbitration. And it also bridges the gap for continuity, at least for the next 5 years. Now, it's a 10-year contract, no guarantee that Austin Riley is going to stay here for 10 years or, retire a Brave or anything like that. But for 5 years, you probably have Austin Riley. You're probably going to be able to ink Max Reed, hopefully Dansby Swanson, but you already have Ronald Acuna Jr. You're probably going to be able to get Michael Harris II, probably going to be able to get Spencer Strider. So it's the continuity for me that I really like, that tells me it's the right time, because, and that kind of segues into another question that we'll ask in just a moment, but talking about whether or not some of these players, not all, but some of these players are the ones that bring you to the dance. So why not get them in place to be locked and loaded for the duration? So I like it. I think the move is great. It's what the market was bearing for a third baseman that's doing what he's doing, not just a third base, but also at the plate. So I think the Braves made a good move, as always, with Alex Anthopoulos. And you know what another good move would be for you guys? Bet online, right, Jarvis?
No doubt about it. Go to betonline.net and go and put a little change on whether or not the Braves going to get this NL East at the end of the year. I'm sure they'll have all the information just for you, because
Mm-hmm.
betonline.net has podcasts. They have all the information that you need. So why wait? Go to betonline.net. It is your number one source for all your betting needs and sports info. It is your
Yes.
continued source for all your sports wager information, including live betting, esports, and scores. So hey, you go in there for your information, and you can get the scores and everything that you're looking for. So yeah, BetOnline is the place to be. Now, you are talking about, well, I'm not necessarily into the major sports, right?
Mm-hmm.
They got you covered as well. They got the MMA, they got the boxing, and you can
Mm-hmm.
check in on all the sports in regards to that, right? Anything that's going on right now. So
Yes.
head to the website today, or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends and action, because Bet Online is exactly where the game starts.
Yes. And we would say that the game probably really starts for the Braves, the Mets, and everybody right around 6 p.m. Eastern time tonight, right? Because that's
Yes.
the trade deadline across Major League Baseball. But Alex Anthopoulos is one who's never going to wait until the last minute. We saw that last year. He started making moves
Hello.
before the trade deadline, exactly. And he's doing it yet again. So Monday, he was making moves. One of them we kind of all anticipated. We thought that Will Smith was probably on his last leg, at least for the time he
Right.
was here. And yes, thank you for what you did last year to help them
Mm-hmm.
clinch the World Series title. Appreciate you for that. But fast forward, and the Braves have to keep it moving and keep it pushing for what it is that they want to do this year and put themselves in contention. So they go out and they get, we talked about this yesterday, they get Ahiri Adrianza, which gives them
Mm-hmm.
just that one more person from a platooning perspective, right, in left field. But then they go out and get what could be a sneaky good find in both Robbie Grossman and Jake Odorizzi. And particularly, Jarvis, I wanted to talk about Jake Odorizzi because I was like, yeah, that kind of goes to where we talked about Ian Anderson being, right? Which is,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, you showed exactly what you needed to show on Saturday to save yourself and stay here. But just in case you stay wobbly, or just in case Charlie Morton stays wobbly, you have someone in Odorizzi who definitely is able to pitch, and get into that 5-man rotation. But also, if you need a long reliever, you have someone who can do that in Odorizzi. So I like that one. And of course, with Grossman, he gives you yet another quality outfielder who, if you're losing, if you have one bat, as far as having someone who hits well against the right fielders, whether that's Marcel Ozuna in a DH space or Eddie Rosario, if you will, Robbie Grossman, while not great when it comes to right-handed batters, certainly is raking with left-handers with a 364 average. So those things being said, do you think these are the final roster moves?
Probably so, because when you think about all of the issues that we talked about leading up to the trade deadline, right? We talked about the infield,
Mhm.
Robinson Cano probably not getting the job done. He's been designated for assignment. He's out of here. And Adrianza, who's a utility guy who can play all over, so he'll be
Mhm.
able to fill that spot for you.
True.
That fills a need. And then you talk about the back end of the rotation. Ian Anderson he's struggled
Mhm.
tremendously.
Yeah.
And but as of late, as his last outing. You're only good as your last pitch, right? So he
Mhm.
showed really well. So I
Yeah.
think that, but you still, like you said, Alex Anthopoulos is a guy that he don't put all his eggs in one basket. He's always
Right.
thinking about the next move and the next move, and he
Mhm.
has to be like that as a general manager, and he's been able to do that. And he feels that need. So and then when you talk about that left field situation, right? It's
Mhm.
ugly. I'm sorry. It was ugly. And you talk about Marcelo Zuna being out there, which is not a good look, and he's struggling at the plate as well. You're not really doing what you paid him for, and
Mhm.
and then you got Eddie Rosario, who's is being Eddie Rosario, not the
Yeah.
one that was the NLCS MVP, right?
Still
So
in
I think
recovery mode.
that you bring in the extras just
Mhm.
in case, the
Mhm.
break in case of emergency, guys. And I think that you setting yourself up for to make a run. And I think that's
Yeah.
exactly what Alex Anthopoulos has done.
And that's a good point because I would say, just based on what you're sharing, and I would tend to agree as well, that this seems like to me, if Double A makes another move today, I think it'll be minor. I don't think he's going to be going out there. Of course, there the only guys that were left were Ian Happ and oh my goodness, the guy that Drury.
Oh, Brandon Jury. Yep, yep.
Exactly. So those are really kind of the only ones who could possibly come through. But yeah, I agree with you. He probably is good to go where he is as far as Double A is. And so, Jarvis, it seems like in order for the Braves to get back, they believe that they can go for the most part with a few changes around,
Of course.
if
Yeah.
you will, but around the roster. But looks like they believe they can go with the team and dance with the team that brung them last year.
Yeah, and that's fine, and I'm perfectly fine with that because Ozzy Albies is going to return at some point. We think,
Yes.
we hope,
Yes.
So so when you look at it from that standpoint of, and you hoping that some guys get going. Of course, Ronald Acuna,
Hmm.
you assume that he's going to go on a tear at some point, and we know how this Braves teams play.
Hmm.
When Ronald Acuna has got that back going, and
Yes.
that's something that you can almost expect to happen. And
Hmm.
and it's not like you up here were trying to trade for Juan Soto in the first place, which is
Right.
we find out that the Padres basically giving up dang near the
And
whole farm to go
right.
get him and Josh Bell. I was like, oh my
Right.
god!
I'm like
So
Josh
I'm like,
Hader and Juan
Lord,
Soto.
like literally, like so yeah,
I'm in
it's
love.
it's a lot of big moves just going down the trade deadline, but I'm actually kind of cool with the Braves not being a part of all that.
I agree. I think that with the roster as currently constructed, they have every opportunity to win this division and then vie for back-to-back titles. No question at all. And we'll see. And if there are any more moves, that we are going to talk about it tomorrow. Also, of course, we're going to download on the first game of the two-game series against the Phillies. But in For the Culture, we'll talk about a guy who refuses to make a move. He is standing firm. And we'll talk about someone else who will learn today. Don't come for her if she didn't send for you. We'll talk about it.
Final segment of ATL Day was. I'm telling y'all, one of these days we're gonna start dropping these outtakes on
Right.
ATL Day Ones with Jarvis and T, and y'all gonna. I'm sure. I promise y'all will thoroughly enjoy those bad boys. But
Yes,
thank
you
you.
will be entertained.
Very, very entertained. You don't have to ask that question.
No.
But we want to thank you guys for rocking with us throughout the entire show. Like T mentioned earlier, we are on our way to 3,000 subscribers. Man, we appreciate y'all for liking and subscribing and commenting. Don't forget to drop your comments in there as well. We read those bad boys. And if
Mhm.
it's good enough, it'll probably make the show. So hey, we can make you famous too as well. But T, this is For the Culture. It is the intersection between sports, the culture, and entertainment, and sometimes whatever the hell we want to talk about. That's just how we get down on
Yeah.
this show. We talked about somebody getting an offer that they potentially couldn't refuse. It'd probably be an
Mhm.
offer that a regular person could refuse. But Tiger Woods, reportedly, according to Greg Norman,
Mhm.
in an interview, he said that Live Golf offered Tiger Woo 700 between 700 and 800 million dollars
Right.
T just to play, not to win and go be great, but
Right.
just to make an appearance and just play a few rounds.
Yes.
Like 700. Like now, I started looking up some numbers and I started saying like, okay, I said let me check career earnings of one Tiger Wood. Now,
Yes.
And that's when I kind of calmed down a little bit. $1.7 billion in career
Yeah,
earnings. Like, yeah, so
he's good.
but still, like that's half. They offer him half of his career earnings in a one-shot deal.
Yeah.
See, man, oh man, Tiger Woods is, I mean, we know he paid, but good
Mhm.
Lord, boy, is he 800 million, 700, $800 million paid?
Right. But
Goodness.
it speaks to something that you and I talked about yesterday, whether people agree with us or not, or agree with the suspension of Deshaun Watson. And let me share where I'm going with that.
Okay.
The integrity of the game matters to
Right.
a lot of people. It
Indeed.
matters to a lot of leagues, and that is why even today we found out in terms of tampering that the Dolphins did. Oh, you're
Mhm.
going to pay for that. You're losing a first round draft pick and you're losing a third round draft pick next year and the following year because that speaks to the integrity of the game. You tampered with the game. So that's
Right.
where the NFL stands, just like they did with Deshaun Watson. Now, player wise, we've seen players take lesser contracts, right? Because
Mhm.
they want to stay committed to their team or they believe that that franchise is going to put them in a position to go after a championship. I feel like this is kind of in that same space of Tiger Woods appreciating all that the game has done for him on the PGA level, right?
Right.
And kind of him rising from the ashes and coming back to the PGA Tour even if he never wins again. And there's
Right.
something about him that's going to also carry him far beyond this one time hit, right?
Right.
He'll make that 700 or 800 because he's always going to, if he wants to endorse until the day he dies, he'll have opportunities on US soil and probably beyond, even the lore from the former British Open, now the Open. So you think about that and it becomes a question of, is it worth it? And there are a lot of questions about live golf and their affiliations. And I just believe with him, always also trying to rebrand and continue to repair his image just wasn't worth it. Just wasn't
And
worth it.
and and to be honest with you, I get it. I understand it,
Yeah.
right? Like I know I
Mhm.
made a big deal out of it. That's a lot of doggone money to turn out.
It
But when
is.
actually reality, when that wears off, when the number wears off, you kind of you have to think about it. You have to consider what comes with that.
Yes.
Because at the end of the day, when people start coming around throwing a whole bunch of money around to get things started, like
Hmm.
you have to question it. You have to
Yeah.
understand what's the long term, consequences for this. Like because I
Hmm.
know Tiger Woods has been an ambassador for the PGA. He's the
Yes.
only reason why I was even interested in golf.
Yes.
Period. So when you think about what he did for the game and what the
Hmm.
PGA has done for him,
Hmm.
he takes all those things in consideration, right? Because like understands fully that he's not going
Hmm.
to be able to play forever and compete at a high level. So at some point, I'm sure he's going to have some type of high ranking position,
Hmm.
in the PGA once he's
Yes.
completely done playing golf. And like I said, I understand the long term value of it, and I even think about it from this standpoint, right? I always DJ Shockley is a guy who's a friend of the show, and I got a
Yes.
chance to kind of rap with him last Friday where I was up,
Hmm.
up at Flowery Branch.
Yes.
I looked at the move for him when he was going back and forth with David Green and whether or not he's going to be the
Hmm.
starter, and he ended
Hmm.
up waiting his turn and ended up working out for him. It
Yeah.
worked out for him not only in the moment, but it worked out for
Hmm.
him long term as well because he's working. Now he's following in Run Gamp's footsteps as far as being a
Hmm.
local TV guy in the
Yes.
state of Georgia. And
Hmm.
it's because he stuck it around. He stuck it out at
Yeah.
Georgia and became one of those guys, once he stepped on the field and proved himself.
Hmm.
So I think that I look at it like this I look at it the same way as far as making a long term decision that may
Hmm.
look a little crazy in the short term,
Right.
but
But
I I think we're gonna talk about a young lady that made a decision that may look a little crazy in the short term. She's decided to tweet about the beehive. Ooh, they may be coming for a neck. But before we get there, T, go and tell them about Coffee AM, please.
yeah, and you know who always makes good decisions like this lady did not make? Coffee AM. They make good
Yes.
decisions in being one of the best small batch roasters in this country and how they put forth the fresh product. And you will make a good decision if you actually pick up the product. So we talk about it all the time because Jarvis and I are fans. We truly love the product. Again,
Indeed.
It's the freshest roast. So think about this: on a day that they ship, or just not too far after that, literally when you make that order, that's when they kind of start making that roast, if you will. So think about them going all over the world to get the best beans out there. So whether that is direct trade or whether that is free trade, they're out there getting it. If it's organic, they are going to get that too. And that's what you love about them, in addition to, of course, being able to support a local business. So you want to know how to get yourself some, you can go to coffeeam.com/locked on, and you can see a full menu that includes coffee. Jarvis is a coffee fan. Tea, I'm a tea fan, and gift sets in case there is some special occasion that's coming up, or even if you just want to tell somebody thank you. It's a great thank you gift. Again, if you go to coffeeam.com/locked on for your first order, you can get 15% off by just using the code locked on. So if you want to support good local business, if you want to support a great product, check out coffeeam.com/locked on. Get your 15% off today.
Today on that first order. So they showing love off the rip. Speaking of Diane Warren, who's a famed songwriter, she ain't showing no love, seemingly, kind of in a passive aggressive manner. So
Right.
she tweeted
Yes.
out yesterday. She tweeted out yesterday, how can there be 24 writers on the song? So essentially, she was referring to Beyonce. She just dropped the album, and as you know, once B drops an album, everybody and their mama talking about it. So, but she immediately tweeted after that, she didn't delete it, that this isn't meant as shade. I'm just curious. But the whole thing is like, if you saying that immediately after you tweet it out, people
Right.
gonna take it as shade.
Yeah, right. And then I'm like, is she kidding? So then the
Right.
emoji that she put on that was not the emoji of curiosity. Okay.
Right.
It was a side eye emoji. So if you want to come for her that way,
Almost rolling the eyes too.
yeah,
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 you know what
exactly.
I'm
It was right
saying?
there. It was the side eye slash rolling eye emoji. It was not the curiosity emoji that looked like this.
Mhm.
So you set yourself up for people to make the assumption that you were shading her, especially because you, as a writer, were kind of questioning or seeming to question, oh, she can't write a song by herself. I'm like, do you know this lady has gotten award on top of award for her writing skills? Like, she's in a Hall of Fame of writers. Beyonce, that is. Diane Warren is as well. But again, don't go for her unless you are completely prepared for the vitriol that's coming your way, including from me, because
Mhm.
you just didn't have to go there. Like, you should have just left that alone. Leave it alone. And then, of course, the dream came and kind of explained to her, hey, this is why she has to do this, and the piece of sampling, and how we as artists don't get credit. As Black artists, they don't get the credit that they deserve. So this is a way and an opportunity for Beyonce to give the credit to whom it's due. And I really appreciated it. And granted, Diane Warren did thank him for his lesson. But guess what? You might want to step off Twitter for a little while, because you're right there on the cusp. And I'm not saying I agree with cancellation, but be careful. You're about to be canceled if you're not careful. Don't ever, forever, ever go after Beyonce. Just not a good look. Just
Yeah.
not a good look. But you know what is a good look? When you're
Yes.
Ryan Howard, because guess what? You are a 3-time Rookie of the Month. So congratulations to our girl Ryan Howard for getting that. Again, I'm seeing Rookie of the Year in her future. Also hoping
Mhm.
that we see a Braves dub in the future that we could talk about tomorrow. Going to talk more Falcons training camp with you as well. So thanks again for rocking with us, and we will see you guys tomorrow.
Dog, come back now. You hear?